So, here's the thing about a midlife wisdom school is that we get to spend a lot of time thinking about stuff that you may not have had a lot of time to think about, but yet is happening in your life, in all of our lives. And after having thousands and thousands of people coming through our doors online and in person, it seems that no matter what, we are all experiencing some different myriad form of changes or transitions in our lives that we're sorting out and trying to think about. Although most of the time, the world doesn't give you that hall pass and go, oh, okay, Paul, I see you're having a big transition right now. We're going to stop the whole world for you and let you sort yourself out. You just let us know when you're on the other side. No, wouldn't that be nice? But that is not, unfortunately, the way it works. But we have some ideas on how to move through these different transitions and changes in our life with some insight that you may not have thought about before. So our team put together a cool worksheet that we're going to pop into the chat here. Those of you who have been through MEA Online before, or Transitions course, or been to our Baja, some of this might be familiar to you or very familiar to you. So that little link there, that bit.ly link in the chat, if you're the type of person who likes to take notes and you want to have like a typable worksheet, you are welcome to have that open in a tab. If that is like, Carrie, I can't deal with that. Like if you open another tab, then I can't find you anymore. And that is too much for me. Totally fine. You'll get a copy of it at the end of this program with the recording. But if you do want to use it, you're more than welcome to. One of the things that we have found is that there's a lot of changes that happen in our lives for sure. So let's start popping in the chat. What are some of the most common changes we go through in midlife? Just throw them in there. What are some of the things that happen when we hit midlife, whatever that stage would be for you? Career changes, death of a parent, health changes, job, career, divorce, kids, boom, menopause, empty nesting, losing friends, retirement, ageism, there we go, job change, illness, right? Grandmotherhood, the death of parents. Some people call it the sandwich generation, when you're taking care of elder parents and your kids. Disillusionment, loss of energy. Yeah, these are great. Lack of friends, a spouse 24/7. That could be good. I'm not sure how to interpret that one. I'm going to let that go for right now. We'll come back to that later. So it turns out we've been doing research on this topic for many years. And William Bridges was one of the first kind of modern American researchers who did a lot of work on change and transition. How do you manage that? Bruce Feiler wrote a wonderful book a few years ago called Life is in the Transitions. And he helped identify that the period of midlife, which you might identify being in midlife in your 40s, your 50s, your 60s, your 70s, all those decades are kind of fall into this gray space of midlife. And most of the time when you hear the word midlife, what's the second word that goes with it? It's a midlife what? Pop it in the chat. What do we, yeah, there it is. A midlife crisis. How unfair that we get to look forward to hitting this stage of life and it's a crisis. Wow, not very aspirational. But yet, if you look at this rundown list of how many changes are happening at this stage of our life, you could see why it could kind of feel like a crisis, but it doesn't have to be. And we have found that we love working with this image of transition and change as a metaphor of going from a caterpillar to a chrysalis to a butterfly. And if you have the first half of your life as that caterpillar, instead of a midlife crisis, what if it could be a midlife chrysalis, a time for reflection, a time for exploration, and then to kind of move into that second half of life with a totally reframed idea about what you want your future to look like. Yeah, seasoning, Paul said, which is great. So what's interesting for those of you who've been through MEA before, you may know this, that we have a lot of transitions at different stages in our life. And even from 1 month to the next, there might be one thing that's really up in our lives versus something else that might be really up in our lives that are really bothering us, that we're preoccupied by. So we're going to do something called a micro journal. I'm going to ask you a question. I'm just going to give you a minute to answer it. If you use that link that we gave you, you can answer it on the worksheet, or you can just grab a blank piece of paper. That totally works. Some of us are old school, and that's fine. So I'd like to give you a second to answer this for yourself, which is, what is one transition that keeps you up at night right now? And something's going to pop up in your head. What is a transition that's keeping you up at night right now? And some of you might be popcorning a ton of them, which is totally okay. But see if one just kind of bubbles up there. One transition that's keeping you up at night. And awesome. Some of you are sharing, not only are you writing it on your own worksheet, but you're popping it in the chat, which I love. So we're seeing, death, upcoming retirement, launching a new business. Look at this swing, launching a business and retiring. David is cool. Nothing's keeping him up at night. So he's feeling chill right now. Where to live? Looking for a new job. Marriage transitions. Yep. I think my knee may be done with me. There we go. Knee surgery.
Test.
Laid off, looking for work. Yeah. So what's so interesting is that we have these changes that happen in our life. And a change is typically something that happens on the outside. I'm moving, I'm changing a job, I'm getting divorced. But a transition is the more psychological process. It's the less visible process. It's who are you becoming as you move through a long-term illness? Who are you becoming as you let go of a job? You will have a chance to chat with me, though, in a little while. So transition is kind of like, who are we going to become through this? Are we going to transition in a way that we're scared and it's regressive and we're anxious and we're angry and we're depressed? Or are we going to find a way to be more regenerative as we move through these transitions, to be more curious or patient or surrendered to them? So you guys listed a ton of really powerful and common transitions in midlife. We didn't realize that midlife has more transitions than any other time of life. And so at this moment today, you may be feeling pretty okay. You may be feeling quite overwhelmed. There may be one or two things that are going on in your life. But I'm going to break down the top 40 midlife transitions into 6 categories. And that was sort of the easiest way. Some of you may remember listening to AM radio and the top 40 pop songs. That was my era. So I decided to copy that. So the top 40 list for midlife transitions. So I'm going to read off about 5 common transition experiences that happen in each category. And what I would like you to do is, if you have just your piece of paper, you can make a little hash mark for anything that is happening in your life. You go, oh, yep, that's me. Make a little hash mark. You can use the worksheet if you like as well. Okay, everybody good? You've got a device of some sort. So we're going to walk through these different midlife transitions, okay? So here we go. The first one, the first category, are related to personal transitions. So I'm going to read these and you just make a mark for the ones that apply to you right now. All right, number 1. I'm in a challenging relationship or marriage that is struggling, is ended, or could be ending. That's 1. Number 2, I recently became an empty nester. Number 3, I'm serving as a caregiver for aging parents, and I have kids still in the house. I'm in a sandwich generation, or either one of those. I'm serving as a caregiver. I'm struggling with a personal friendship or a colleague. The general pace of my life is changing. The general pace of my life is changing. And I am moving or considering moving. Okay, so that was category number 1. Got those? Everybody good? Okay, number 2, we call them physical transitions. So here we go. 1, I am experiencing physical changes linked with getting older, as in my knee's done with me. Number 2, I feel a general change in my sense of sensuality or sexuality. Number 3, I have a health situation or I received a diagnosis that I'm worried about. Number 4, I would like to work on my health by having a better diet. Number 5, I would like to start some sort of a wellness or mindfulness practice. And number 6, I would like to spend more time in nature for my mental and physical health. We good? Thumbs up? Caught up so far? All right, let's keep going. Next, we call psychological transitions. All right, so here we go. Number 1, I've noticed recently that I'm struggling with anxiety or depression. Number 2, I'm not feeling open or flexible recently when faced with learning something new. Number 3, I feel like I've been forgetting things lately, and I'm kind of worried about cognitive decline. Number 4, my current state of affairs has me often feeling angry or defensive. Number 5, I used to be more upbeat and positive in my outlook, but lately I'm not. And 6, I'm usually motivated to connect with others, but now I'm not so much, and I feel a little lonely. Okay, you guys with me? All right, here we go. Next are transitions related to our profession. So here we go. Number 1, I would like to change careers or industry and find my calling, but I'm afraid of the risk. Number 2, I've started a new job and I'm worried that I'll fail or I will feel old in the workplace. Number 3, I've recently retired and I feel a little lost. Number 5, a recent professional change has me more worried about my finances and my future. Number 5, I have to keep working, but recently I realized I might not have the skills. And number 6, I lost my job this year or my income has substantially declined. Okay, everybody good with that so far? Making the hash marks? Great. The next one is a little bit more esoteric. We call it the category of passing and parting transitions. Passing and parting, and it will make sense as we dive in here. All right, so the first one is, I am unsettled at the passing of time in my life and what there is left to do. Number 2, someone in my life recently passed away. Number 3, I don't feel like I've taken the time to put my affairs in order. Number 4, I'm struggling with the constant uncertainties of the world. Number 5, I feel like I'm afraid of dying. And number 6, I've not yet fully grieved various relationships that I have lost. Okay. Last one is called transitions related to our sense of purpose. So here we go. Hash marks for anything that applies to you. Number 1, I feel like I'm in the midst of some internal change that I can't explain. Number 2, I'm no longer sure what gets me out of bed in the morning. Number 3, I recently hit a milestone and I'm not sure what legacy I want to leave behind. Number 4, as I'm getting older, I worry about becoming irrelevant or without a compelling purpose. Number 5, I've been driven by purpose so long in my life, I'm not sure what to do without it. And number 6, I feel like I'm no longer needed by anyone. All right. So now here comes the fun part. It's a little math exercise, not too difficult. Your job is to add up how many hash marks did you write down? How many transitions? So go ahead and take a second to add all those little hash marks up in all of the 6 categories. And when you are done, pop it into the chat. How many transitions are you experiencing right now? Here we go. 10, 15, 24, 9, 14, 5.5. You're the first person who put a transition as a half. I love that. 7, 12, 19, 23, 25, 9. Yes, and we're going to talk about that, Emily, for sure. That seemed like some of the transitions were sort of negative, or we could be experiencing growth. 100%, yes, for sure. This was kind of more like the scary parts, the parts that keep us up at night. Yes, so it looks like we've got everything from 5 to 32, Christine. Congratulations. I believe you're the winner. Let's see. Of the most transitions happening all at one time. Interesting to see that. So based on what number you put, what would you end? Joy has 58. Joy! Holy guacamole, Joy, you get the prize, girl. Wow. Okay. So now comes, and yes, transitions can be framed as something that is more concerning, or they can be framed as something very aspirational. And of course, we can look at both sides of that coin. So based on the number that you wrote, what is the emotion that you're feeling about that number? Pop that in the chat. One word. What's just one word emotion reaction to shock, dread, how you feel about it? Fear, overwhelm, wow, surprise. Look at, oh my gosh, shame, relief, compassion, pondering, yeah, discombobulated. Grief and relief and curiosity. Great one, Maureen. Wow, I love that. Much more than I thought. Yes, right? Yes. So no wonder if you have a certain general state of mind, no wonder that you may be experiencing some of those emotions you may not have realized You are processing and managing a lot of things all at once. And guess what? Has anyone ever really taught us about transitions in our life or in school or in college? Not really. And even if we go to therapy, you're not necessarily getting a class on managing transitions or how to take a look at them. Totally, Joy. Laura, excellent. So Laura gets to hang with Joy. There we go. So it's very interesting. Those of you who have been through this program before, pop in the chat. Do you have a different answer than you had when you went through the course? Curious. Because usually Jeff and I do. Every time Jeff and I take this, we have a different answer. There's often something different that we're kind of focusing on. Yep. Yeah. So what I was saying is, those of you who are alumni in MEA who've done this assessment before, did you have a different answer this time? Okay. So some people are asking the 6P. Connor, I'll let you kind of help some of the folks. JD, not sure which one you were looking for the 6, but Connor will help you with that. Great. So it just goes to show that, you know, everybody's heard of the term EQ, right? If you heard of EQ, like Daniel Goleman's work, emotional intelligence, really seminal work to show us that we don't just have an IQ, we don't just have, you know, our general intelligence, but we also have the capacity to be more empathetic or compassionate or to tune into how other people are feeling. And that becomes a huge skill in our relationships and in our work. So we believe that there's room here for transitional intelligence or TQ skills, transitional quotient. How are you at managing transitions in your life? And how knowledgeable or skilled are you at recognizing where you might be in these various transitions that are happening? So it turns out that indeed you may be experiencing up to 40 different transitions. And according to Bruce Feiler, some of these transitions on average could take 2 to 5 to 9 years to complete. And so if nothing else, you spend some time with us here for this hour and you walk away knowing, okay, wow, no wonder there's a lot going on. And okay, wow, 9 years, Carrie, to get through a transition. Are you kidding me? So now maybe I don't need to worry so much. Maybe I can settle into transitions are a process and they can take time, but there are predictable stages that we can move through. Yes, Danielle, give ourselves space and grace. Exactly. And we have this time in this midlife chrysalis to kind of examine this onslaught. If you have a bunch of transitions at once, like Joy, who I keep picking on here, Bruce Feiler would call that a life quake. Not an earthquake, a life quake, where everything is shaking at the timbers. And in those moments, you just kind of hang on. And there's other times in our lives, some of you are like, I'm good. Like I'm sleeping at night. I am cruising right now. So amazing to take note of those moments in our life. Like, wow, I've resolved a lot of things. Things are calmer right now. I'm going to take note of this and look back in that rearview mirror and see how I got here so I can remember for the next time. Because do you think we'll be done with transitions in the next year or 2 or 3? No, sorry. They'll be coming our entire life. So let's get comfortable with it. Let's get better at it. So we found, as you go to your little notes, you can take a look at this, or we have it here. There's 3 stages of a transition. It's pretty straightforward, but it's not easy. Simple, but not easy. So typically, the first sign of moving through a transition is at an ending. So it's kind of counterintuitive. Transitions begin with an end. So it's the end of a marriage. It's the end of a job. It's the end of not having cancer. It's the end of living in your family home and moving to a new place. That's usually when a transition kicks off. So those of you who are resonating with that stage, that ending stage, what are some of the emotions that you're experiencing? If you guys are resonating with that ending stage of a transition, how are you feeling about it? Pop it in the chat. What are some of the emotions? Grief, yep. sadness or depression, fear, relief. Yeah, relief, scared, nostalgic, sad, for sure. Sometimes you might look at ending as a failure, uncertainty, or confusion. Again, there's this whole range of emotions that can happen when something ends. We like consistency in our life. We like things to be predictable, but unfortunately, the world is not like that. And, sometimes there may be an intrinsic transition, which would be, I don't want to stay in this job. I need to leave this job. Or it could be an extrinsic transition of, your boss comes in and says, we're downsizing and I have to let you go. Right? That's very different. Kind of sorting through an initiation versus receiving it. So an ending stage of a transition is one to be conscious of and gentle with. That endings are, some of us are pretty good at endings. Some of us are terrible at endings. You'll see where you are on the spectrum as we keep going through our process. So, the ending in our metaphor is that moment that the caterpillar is no longer a caterpillar. He spun himself into a cocoon and he will never be a caterpillar again. Like, can anybody relate to that? Like a moment in your life that you will never be again? It's powerful. It requires a certain reverence or rite of passage or ritual, ceremony to mark those moments. And ritual is a wonderful way to mark an ending, whatever that means. Burning all the pictures of the boyfriend or creating a beautiful ceremony to celebrate turning 60, whatever it is. So this chrysalis that the caterpillar's in, we call that the messy middle stage, right? Anybody relating to that? The messy middle. That's the middle part of going through a transition. It's like swinging on a trapeze where you've let go of what you know and you are in liminal space. Thank you, Andrew. You're in this in-between land, the no man's land, and you're still waiting to grab onto that other bar. Or you're jumping and your feet haven't yet landed on the ground. That feeling of being just distended. So those of you who are in the messy middle stage, what are some of the emotions you guys are experiencing? Pop it in the chat. What does it feel like when you're in a messy middle stage? A flying squirrel while building my wings. Totally. Yes, I love that. Confusion, exhausted, moody, right? Fear, loss of control, roller coaster, free for all, overwhelmed. Ooh, disgruntled. These are good words, you guys. Nice. Impatient, trying to find the light. A loss of confidence. Yep. Alice in Wonderland. Totally. Things just are very strange and surreal. Yes, a writer staring at a blinking cursor with no words on the page. You guys are amazing. These are so good. Wow. Searching with my foot for the next step. Yes. Yes. Can we all relate to that? Curiouser and curiouser. Quicksand. Who has not been in a messy middle ever in their life? Raise your hand. I want to meet you. How you got to this stage in your life without having those moments of feeling lost. We've all been there. We've all experienced those emotions. And so here's the tricky part about the messy middle. Has anybody ever been in that state and you just got so freaked out and so scared that you went back to what you know? Back to the same guy, back to the same job, back to the same eating pattern. What, anybody done that? Curious. Am I the only one that's ever done that? Yeah. We call that a regressive trend. Like, I'm regressing because I'm so afraid. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay, because maybe we're not ready, or maybe we're in this 2 to 4, 5 year stage of the messy middle, and it's not quite time yet to write that book, or it's not quite time, right? We put a lot of labels on this period. We want it to be quick, and we want it to be predictable, and we want it to be hockey stick, like this. Oof, doesn't work like that. The messy middle is all over the place. One thing that we found, though, that's helpful in the messy middle is to look for synchronicities. Has anybody been in those moments when like you have no idea and then some random thing happens that is like a spark of light, some strange thing, someone who called the thing, or you thought about something and someone said it, or someone said it, you saw it. Those are sometimes little signals that, oh, I think I'm moving through here to some new place. Yes, synchronicity or grace. Exactly, Beatrice, for sure. And so eventually, at some point, what happens to that caterpillar? He does, or she does, break out of that chrysalis. But what happens if you happen to see a beautiful chrysalis in your backyard and you can see the wings, right? And it's so translucent and it's so close. What happens if you break open that chrysalis yourself, trying to like help it? Has anybody ever done that? Any guesses of what happens? Yeah, it's a gooey yuck. Yeah, it dies, Maher. It dies. If you try to intervene and move and force a proper transition, it doesn't work. So be patient with yourself, be patient with life, be patient with the lessons that these transitions are here to teach you. Don't rush through them. Stay in the soup. It can be not very fun, but it also can be incredibly rich time of exploration. And then the final stage, that butterfly comes out and he's flapping his wings, and we call that stage the new beginning. The new beginning. So comfortable now being single, or started a new job and I'm coasting now, or I've got 100% bill of health after struggling for many years, whatever it is, that new beginning where things are starting to normalize. And some of you who may have a smaller number of transitions on your list might be kind of hanging out in that space. So whether you're in those now, or you can remember having them, what are some of those emotions that go with that stage? That, because the new beginning has all kinds of stuff too. So what are some of the things you've experienced, your emotions, when you're in that new beginning stage? Coming out of the stage seemed too quick, said Paul. Yeah, well, but yes, often there's a sense of excitement or ease and relief, right? There can be trepidation because it's new. Yeah, the plane has landed. So, you know, that can be kind of scary. Some people really don't like new things that aren't that familiar. Can be very nerve-wracking to kind of lean into something new. All right, so here's my next question. Which of the three transitions are you the worst at? Are you just terrible at endings? You will do everything to avoid an ending. Do you hate it when you're in a messy middle and nothing is clear? Or do you really get nervous first day of school, like the new thing? Which is your least favorite of the transitions? I hate the messy middle, says Jack. A lot of us don't like that uncertainty, the messy, but some people don't like the ends, and some people don't like those new beginnings. Yeah, you may have a partner in your life who has a different of those three that they really suck at or that they really hate. Maybe you're great with endings and your partner's terrible with endings, and you have to move, or they're thinking about a job and you can see this challenge. Yes. So it's interesting to be aware of that. So let's take a moment for another shorter micro journal. So back to the beginning. Remember when you picked that transition that's keeping you up at night, right? Go back to that. And which stage of the three stages of transition are you in with that transition, the one that popped up? Some of you are already writing it in the chat. Yes, got it. Great. So throw in there which stage you're in, and what are some of the emotions that you're feeling about this transition now that you have a framework for where it is? The messy end, David. That's awesome. Messy middle aggressed. Lonely. Yeah. Worried about this. Can you be an ending in a messy? Yes, totally. 100%. This is a metaphor. You can be anywhere. Now, like you just picked one transition, right? So if you want to continue looking at your hash marks of all of those different transitions, how many of you are beginning to see the matrix? Like, whoa, I'm in like a new beginning in my career, but my relationship is about to end, or I'm in the messy middle with my health. So is anybody beginning to see there's kind of a whole multiple layers of where we are at different stages of our life and how they do change? Yes, every beginning is another beginning's end. Exactly. So there's this reciprocal flow that goes with this. And that sounds trite, but it isn't. It really isn't. That these are difficult moments of our life. They're the most challenging moments of our life. They are not simple. And no particular model is going to make them go faster or make them better. But yet, there is an awareness that as we get to this stage of your life, you've been through transitions before. And you may have had some that were kind of regressive, not so great. And maybe you've had some that you did really well. So just take a moment and think, was there a transition in your life that you did really well? And put that in the chat. What was it? Something that you felt like, yeah, I managed that change really, really well in my life. Pop it in the chat. Yeah, some people did really well in a divorce and managed to shift gears. Empty nesting did a great job. Moving into a new job, I did that well. Becoming a dad, I did that transition really well. Kindergarten to first grade, rockin', Maureen, got this. Love it. Starting a job. Retirement from career. Befriending adult children. Boom, that's a big one. Love it. Changing sports, moving to a new country. Great. Nice. Yeah. Those are your resources. That is your secret sauce. That is your Superman's cape. You have done transitions really well. So you can think about, okay, how did I handle that ending? How did I handle that messy middle? How did I handle that new beginning? What were some of the strategies that I used to make that transition go really well? Because those are your secret weapons. We've got all kinds of things. Typos in the chat. I'm not going there. I can't say that on air. So I'm going to leave that for you guys to read and enjoy. So we've learned, if you go to an amazing workshop, like if you have the opportunity to go away to MEA for a week, dreamy opportunity to look at a transition, because you get to leave the whole world behind and put your toes in the sand and have a margarita and talk with other people and think more spaciously about your life. And people feel sometimes that their day is so full, and their day is so full that at the end of the day, all you can do is like binge on Netflix or something, because there's just no room for spaciousness or the good habits we wish that we had. Sometimes we have to leave our life to figure out how to have those types of habits. And so we have that at MEA. You have the opportunity to use that as a space to kind of transplant yourself and maybe accelerate how you would move through a transition, because you're giving yourself the time to create greater awareness of this holistic process of the transitions of your life and what chord you're in this symphony, this moment. We do the same in our online programs. We create it in a way that gives you spaciousness to think. And so who leads the classes? We have a huge staff who lead our retreats down in Mexico. We have a curated group of thought leaders in our online program. And we follow the same principle. And this would be one little trick that I would give you to becoming a TQ master, right? Transitional intelligence. To be a master at transitions is to approach it with these couple of pillars. And the first is to center. That however you find a way to center yourself, that's always the place to begin. Now, some of us center with the meditation practice. I suck at meditation, but I love walking meditations in nature. That totally works for me. I often talk out loud. or I'll look at flowers, or I'll look at the tree, and then I feel better. Some people have a journaling practice. Some people have music as a practice. So a centering is always the place to begin. And Connor, if you can pop that in there, center. And that's on your notes as well. And then the second is to learn. We are huge proponents, obviously at MEA, in what we call long life learning. How can you be learning your entire life? What can you learn about this ending that sucks so much? What can I learn about my grief? What can I learn about my abject terror in making this decision? What can I learn about being in this frickin' soup again and feeling like I'm stuck? How do we get curious? How can we lead with curiosity? And then our next pillar is to reflect in some way. So after you're learning something, how can you reflect? So what are your reflection tools? I love to talk. So key girlfriends I will call. I love Marco Polo. I literally don't always have time to talk to friends, but I will record a video chat and we sort out the details of our life. Sometimes we journal. So how do you reflect in real time? We sometimes have to speak out loud in order to synthesize what's happening in our life. And the final is to connect. We are not meant to be isolated creatures. Human beings are communal beings. We do need to be with each other. Online, I love. In person, I love. We have this amazing technology that we can all be here from around the world. I love that. But I also love hugging and squeezing folks that I get to finally see in person. And loneliness is becoming an epidemic, as Vivek Murthy, our Surgeon General of the United States, has been putting all over the place, that loneliness is becoming an epidemic for all age groups, including older adults. So connecting with others becomes a prime directive in helping us to move through these different transitions of our lives and help us to feel like we're not alone. So we're going to do a little declaration here, and then I'll take some questions. At the end of the little link of our worksheet, I'm giving you an opportunity to kind of just, in the moment, quite intuitively, just answer a couple of questions. It might be quite prescient, it might not, but let's give it a try. So Connor, if you can copy this sentence down here and pop it in the chat. I'm going to answer the following questions. When it comes to navigating my transitions around, fill in the blank what you wrote. When it comes to navigating my transitions around, whatever you wrote. Okay, fill that in. When it comes to navigating my transitions around, I want you to think of 3 things that you're going to do. 3 things. I don't care what they are. I'm going to cry. I'm going to have a martini. I'm going to start doing yoga. 3 things that you are going to do. No judgment, because we're modern elders, but hopefully you'll pick some aspirational things to do. Comes to navigating my transitions around, I am going to do 3 things. And if you're stuck, you might want to think back to the transition you did really well and use that to mine for some clues. What did you do that you can borrow right now? Okay, everybody coming up with 3 things? Nice. Now, here's the next one. Good, so you guys are putting these in here. Nice. Now, here's this next sentence. This is important to me because I will feel what? This is important to me because I'll feel what? This is important to me because I will feel. Okay, now here's the next one. I'm going to put you on the spot. If I don't do this, if I don't do this, what? If I don't do this, what? Cindy says, I won't feel at peace. Things won't change. I'll have taken the easy way out. I'll hang out with the caterpillars. I'll figure out why and do better. Modern elder answer right there. Nice. If I don't do this. And then the last one is if I do commit to this. If I do commit to this, what? Yeah. Nice. If I do commit to this, these three little things. Ooh, Lisa's playing big, and the answer will come. I'll find new people to love. Yes, yes. Adventure awaits. The universe will conspire to help me, Maureen. Yes, I will succeed eventually, Laura. Yes, I'll figure out what's next after that. Yes. Well done. Well done. So in 50 short minutes, you have had a chance to think about where you are in the top 40 midlife transitions, had a chance to think about the transition that's keeping you up at night. You've had a chance to look at 3 stages of transition, the ending, the messy middle, the beginning, all the emotions that go with it. You've had a chance to think about the one you hate or suck at the most. You've had a chance to think about the transition you've done really well, and been able to pull some of that wisdom back into rethinking this transition that we brought up at the top of the hour. So now I have a question. How do you feel about that transition now? 50 minutes later, pop that in the chat. How do you feel about that transition now? You feel like it's okay. Yay. You feel braver, Joy? Yes. I feel ready to take it on. It feels doable. I can do it, says Sandy. Yes. More accepting, Nancy. I have some agency, JD. Yes. Feel more clear, Kevin. I feel better, more open-minded. Paul says I can jump. I think I need to do less. Somebody feels more clear. Nice. Welcome to being a TQ master. TQ mastery. It's such an important skill that I continue to learn from this one simple concept of examining my life with this type of a rubric. To know I'm not alone. That is the most important thing, Laura. Yes. Sometimes we have to stop ruminating and take action, like Heidi said, but we can't do it if we feel like we're all alone. Because who wants to jump into an abyss? No one does. But why do people jump on stage into the crowd? I still have never done that or understand that, but you get that. Like it's a little different to take a leap when there are hands there to hold you. So those of you who are new to us, MEA is really about that more than anything. We're here to help those of us in midlife, whether you're in your 30s or your 80s, to feel less alone. Has anybody found it's like harder to make friends at this stage of life, or like the kinds of friends you really want? You want to meet new people, but you're not really sure how. That's like a default element that we've discovered, is that going through our online programs, going down to Baja, you end up meeting exceptionally interesting people. And you begin to realize that it doesn't matter what we did in our life or where we came from, that our stories are what allow us to feel not alone. And our story likely may really inspire someone else. And someone else's story might really inspire us. And we need that more than anything. It's so nourishing. So for those of you who've never been through MEA, the team has been popping all sorts of things into the chat. We have an online program called Navigating Midlife Transitions. That's why we did this free class today, to kind of give you a little sampler of what we do in a 6-week deep dive, but it's not a 6-week, like barrel you over with homework. No, because no, I designed this course and I don't believe in that. No, it's fun. We give you live events that are like this, but super fun. You get to talk to people, you meet people. There's a social platform. There's really interesting videos that we've curated from some of the brightest minds, artists, academics, musicians, all walks of life, who are unplugged and telling really amazing stories about their experience in this crazy thing called transitions. And of course, down in Baja, we have programs with special guest faculty, but this core content is also there to give you this practice of looking at the stages of your life and have this community classroom to explore together. So we have like 5 minutes. I wanted to leave a little bit more time for questions, but now's your chance. If you want to raise your hand, if you have what we call aha moments, if you had an aha moment like, wow, that was cool, would love to hear it. If you have a question, love to hear it. I can take like maybe a couple of you. So do it quick, raise your hand if you have a question or a thought, or exactly. Those who go to our Baja campus call it a Baja aha. Paul Adler, are you able to open your camera?
Yeah, I have a question. When we go to a class, can we stay in touch with alumni?
You absolutely can, Paul. So we have actually an entire department. In fact, everybody who's an alumni, go make a heart emoji. Pop it in the gallery view, everybody. Do a little heart emoji or a thing. Yes, we have a entire department dedicated to our community who get to meet each other. We have local events. You're assigned to a chapter. Like we have parties, we have reunions, we have all kinds of things. So absolutely, we do, because we are not a one and done when it comes to this kind of work. It's ongoing. Heidi, let me bring you on up here with me. Hi.
I will unmute myself since I perpetually talk with my mute on when I'm Zooming. I just wanted to say that I was super impressed with the turnout. I thought I would get on here and it would be like 4 other people with me. So it was very exciting to see this great eclectic crowd and to engage in the discussion. So I just wanted to thank everyone for all their contributions. It's nice to know that we have some solidarity.
Me too, Heidi. And thank you guys, everyone, for coming today. It was such a pleasure to have all of you here. Thank you for playing and being with us. So as we get ready to close, I call it a chat waterfall. There's something like really fun and very healing, or very like comforting when you see people put words in at the same time. I love that. So let's do a final word of how you feel right now. How are you feeling right now? Pop it in the chat. Let's see a little waterfall of how you're feeling. Hungry, nice, connected, grateful, curious, rejuvenated, excited, centered, feeling good, zen. Senbei gave me a whale, optimism, grateful, love it, fortunate. Where are the chapters in upstate New York? We have a whole chapter in New England and New York City. Curious, more connected, humbled and encouraged by the idea we're all going through transitions and always will be. Maher, there you go. That's exactly it. Thank you. Yes. Oh, that's right. JD is teaching his first class in Baja. Totally. I love it. Oh, Mary, you said this to me already twice now. Mary, got you. Thank you for telling me again. And as you know, modern elders, sometimes we have to be told more than once, or we have to ask someone's name more than once, but it's okay. Thank you, Mary. And thank you all for coming today. So we will be giving you the recording of this if you want to go back and you want to listen to it again. We put this on our YouTube channel, and we're really committed. We have an ebook called The Anatomy of Transitions that you can read that kind of goes in more depth about these 3 stages. We have live fireside chats with Chip Conley and luminous thought leaders. We have one coming up with Blake Mycoskie pretty soon. Super exciting. And so those are all free. So I hope you enjoy those to learn more about who we are. If you have any questions, Connor, pop my email in the chat, Carrie@Modern Elder. The link to the ebook, we'll send that in the follow-up email to you guys today. later today, or it might be tomorrow because it's getting late, but you will get an email from us with the recording and a link to get that free ebook. And I hope to see you in Baja or one of our online programs.